everybody, so it is time to go ahead and put this engine back in the engine bay. I'm going to be doing this solo today because everybody I know is busy today doing other stuff. It's a Saturday, it's a beautiful day, so I don't blame them. I'm going to be in here in the garage today getting this engine put in. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've gone ahead and I've put engine blankets down all around the side rails and the back firewall area to try to protect it. I should be able to get it in here no problem. I've only got to deal with the front and rear engine mounts, getting them secured in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the engine off the stand onto the engine hoist, and we're going to lower this thing in. Getting it off the engine stand is going to be a little fun because the base of the engine stand is actually wider than my engine hoist, so I got to do a little maneuvering here to get it on and off. Kind of a pain in the ass, but I probably need to fix it one of these days. But yeah, so we're going to get started here. One of the things I need to take care of when buttoning up this engine bay is taking care of the AC system in here. As of right now, the AC dryer and the AC compressor are not hooked up. The AC dryer is still completely closed off. It's a brand new AC dryer. It's completely closed off because I don't want moisture getting in there. The whole purpose of the AC dryer over here is to dry out any moisture that winds up inside the system. It's full of desiccant, which is like the silica packets come in like shoes and stuff like that. It does nothing but dry it out. So if you leave it open, it's going to start absorbing the moisture out of the air, and it won't be as efficient. The compressor is also still sealed off. This is the reman compressor I got. But so right now there's no oil in the system. So what I need to do is I need to figure out how much oil to put in, which I've already looked at the manual, which is 5.4 ounces, which is roughly around 3/4 of a cup. Since the entire system is dry, I'm going to go ahead and put a full 6 ounces in, which is the max it says it can use. Because after I get enough absorption into the dryer, into the lines and everything else, should wind up with with the perfect amount of oil in the system. So what I'm using here is just a PAG 46 refrigerant oil. Since I am charging the system with the R134A, not the R12, I'll be replacing the old ester oil that was in there with the PAG 46. Stealing, of course, some of my wife's measuring cups here. So go ahead and I'm actually hoping I have enough here. This is left over from the last time I did my AC system. So I should have perfect amount here. The last time I did the AC system, I didn't, it wasn't a completely drained system. So there's a half cup there. And we'll finish it off with a 1/4 cup here, which I may have just enough there. Okay, as you can see, the system does take a pretty good amount of oil. I mean, 3/4 of a cup. And that's a completely dry system. If you're transferring your system over from an R12 to an R134, you're going to have old ester oil in there, which is best to, when you swap your system over from 134 to R12, or from R12 to R134, you need to have the system flushed to get that old ester oil out of there. You also need to swap out the O-rings that are in the system, because those O-rings are not made for the R134. They're old rubber butyl O-rings, not the HBNR, the green ones that are being used these days. So I'm going to head and track my funnel down here. I'm going to get this oil into the system, and then from there I'm going to break out my vacuum pump. It's a real cheap Harbor Freight vacuum pump. It just runs off the air compressor, and it basically just runs and sucks all the air out. And I'm going to get that going because that thing is going to run for probably about 45 minutes to an hour, because I need to pull a vacuum on this system, but I need to get the oil in there first. Because once I pull a vacuum on the system, I'm going to check for leaks. If I have any leaks, then I got to reopen the system back up. When I installed all the lines, all new O-rings went in everywhere, so I shouldn't have any leaks. I'm hoping, fingers crossed on here. But we'll go ahead and I'll get the system under pressure, or under vacuum, and I'll let it sit for a few hours, see if it holds vacuum. If it's good, then I'm going to go ahead and charge the system, and that will close off the entire AC system, so I won't have to mess with it ever again. So here's our little vacuum setup here. Got a set of Harbor Freight gauges running down to high side, low side. Valves are open. Here is the nifty little vacuum pump. I think it was like 20 bucks. Basically, it just runs off of air. It just converts the air from the air compressor into vacuum. So what we do is, we can't let it run right now because the air compressor will run. I'll let it kick on for here in just a minute. But what we do is we just crack open the air pressure here, and the vacuum pump will come on. You can hear it here. We crack open the valves, and what this does is it vacuums out all the air that's in the system, including any trapped moisture and all that. We'll let this sit for about 30 minutes and let it run. After 30 minutes, we'll close everything back off. We'll check 30 minutes later to see if we still have a vacuum, and if we do, then the system should be completely sealed. We shouldn't have to worry about any leaks. It's been a few hours now, and I've been keeping an eye on the AC system after we pulled the vacuum on it. I've already got everything disconnected, but it did hold negative 39 vacuum for a couple hours now. I think it's been about 2 or 3 hours since we disconnected the pump and let it sit. I kept an eye on it the entire time, and everything was working great on it, so I went ahead and disconnected it all. Got it set aside. As far as it goes now, that's about as far as we're going to get with it. I can't charge the system because the compressor needs to be running in order to pull the R134 for the bottles in. And since the engine is far from being running right now, I won't be charging it till later. But we got it in a vacuum right now, so it's basically in a storage condition, so I can deal with it later. So the next project we're going to be taking on is going to be the transmission, believe it or not. I know I said earlier that I wanted to hold off on the transmission getting it installed because I wanted to take it out to get it rebuilt. But I started breaking into it to get it cleaned up some, and I think the grinding or noise I had was actually from the old clutch disc, the old Spec 2 clutch disc I had in there. It was a sprung clutch, and it seems like the springs in there were kind of loose. I actually went and disassembled the entire transmission off camera because I wasn't going to record it because I didn't think it was going to be part of the build. I figured I would do it, record the transmission part when I did the rebuild of them. But I took it apart and went and looked through them. All the bearings looked good. I never had any grinding issue with it except for fifth gear, which I think may have just been I needed an adjustment with the shifting mechanism. So I went ahead and resealed the case back up. Made the adjustments to the shifting mechanism like I needed to. I think it was just notched out of place a little bit. And slapped a fresh coat of paint on the housing, got it all cleaned up, slapped a fresh coat of paint on it, resealed everything. So it's pretty much ready to drop back in. As we can see here, I just need to finish off putting little things on here and there, the breather lines, the clutch fork boot, and all that stuff. It's actually it just got the coat of paint on it, so it's drying right now. I just go with a standard, just aluminum paint color on it, and then slap a matte clear finish on it. So I'll go ahead and I'll let this dry for a day or so. I'll finish getting all the little things buttoned up on it, and then we'll get it ready to get it dropped back in, which means for the most part, I'll be able to finish off everything inside the engine bay, because the items like front mount intercooler and all that stuff, I couldn't put that in until the transmission was in place because you got so much stuff running over it. So that'll give me a chance to go ahead and finish all the engine bay up completely. I don't think there'll be anything holding me up from completing it. The only thing I do need to do is the fuel rails and the plenum. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do a polish on the fuel rails. On the upper intake plenum, I am going to powder coat. I'm going to do the same powder coat color as I did here. I think I'm going to go pull the lower intake plenum off also and powder coat that while I've got the whole lower assembly apart and get that all cleaned up. So I'll go ahead and I'll start working on that stuff there.